and welcome to the second Agoura Hills Candidate Forum, which is sponsored by the Fountainwood Homeowners Association and is being administered by the League of Women's Voters, who, in talking to Cindy O'Connor, I don't know if any of you know this, have been around since 1920 and have been an American institution and have handled many debates, large and small, and we are very proud and glad to have them here administrating this one. Would you please rise and let's say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today, as I'm sure you're well aware, is a very special day. It is exactly 1 month since the terrible tragedy back east. Our fight to protect our freedoms has begun, and throughout our history, we have always had to fight for what I think is a very fragile way of life. What are we fighting for? Well, right here tonight, we practice one of the purest forms of freedom. We are free to assemble. These candidates in front of you will discuss the issues closest to all of us here in Agoura Hills. They are free to disagree. Once you have listened carefully to each of them and have made up your mind, you have the freedom to exercise your vote from whomever you wish. And so we think about that tonight. It is a precious freedom, and I implore everyone to exercise that precious freedom and be sure to vote in November. Now it is a great pleasure, with great pleasure, I would like to introduce Cindy O'Connor from the League of Women's Voters, who will be running the forum tonight. Cindy?
I want to thank you all for showing up tonight. As Harry said, this is one of the most important things we do as citizens of this country, and it's one of the things that keeps this country strong and viable. As you know, the League of Women Voters is very committed to making sure that citizens understand what their vote means. One of our main purposes is to provide information about issues, to provide ballot measure information, and to further your education by letting you hear candidates who stand for election. There are some rules that we will follow tonight. The candidates have all been informed of them, but you need to know as well. There are some timing rules. Each candidate is going to open the forum with a 2-minute statement about himself. They are asked to use this time to tell you what they want you to know about them. And that 2 minutes is going to be strictly adhered to. We do have a timer who will, would you want to stand up? There she is, and she has 2 signs. One of them says 15, and that means 15 seconds, and the candidates will be warned when they're at 1 minute and 45 seconds, and that will give them 15 seconds to finish their thought or their sentence and stop. And I think they've gone through this before, so they know that's how they have to do this. There will be 2-minute opening statements, 2-minute closing statements, and then in between those two ends, we will have questions from the audience. There are cards in the back, and you're asked to please write your question out on the cards and submit it. Who's taking the cards? Okay, back here. And you need to know that only questions that have to deal with substantive issues will be read. If there won't be any personal attacks or anything like that, or anything that seems to be provocative personally, that will be read. So keep your questions to the point. There are some rules for other people in this room as well. My job is to make sure the schedule is observed, to explain the rules of engagement, which I have just done, to protect the people who are up here at the front from any personal attacks. And if one happens, it's not up to him to handle it, it's my job to handle it, but I know you're going to be good about that, and to make sure that this meeting ends on time. Your job is to listen, to each of the candidates. Try to glean as much information as you can from what they say, to evaluate what they say, to try to set aside preconceived ideas so that you will be open to what it is they're trying to tell you about themselves. And then, of course, finally, it's your job to go vote. Running for office is a risky business. It takes a lot of courage to stand up in front of crowd night after night, as these people are going to be doing, and to put yourself on the line this way. It's also an exhilarating experience. But the hardest thing they have to do is balance constituent needs, or the needs that you have out here, because everybody's issue is the most important issue. So please assume that each of these candidates is participating in the process that we all enjoy and we all believe in, and think of them as people of goodwill, as you are. All right, I guess we're ready to start. We will start with our 2-minute statements, and we'll start, let's see, I gotta get my list of people here. All right, we'll start with Jeff Reinhardt. Jeff, and the timer's ready to go, right? Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Fountainwood Homeowners Association and League of Women Voters, for making this event possible tonight. I'm pleased to bring before you 4 years of experience on this council that has just been a wonderful experience. I've learned a lot. I think we bring a little to the party in terms of talents, and with the support of the other council people and our city staff, I'm glad to tell you we're on the right track. Now, besides my 4 years on council, I, as many of you know, did 6 years on Planning Commission, and that's important when you consider the many development issues that we consider from time to time through our city. I'm glad to say our budgets have been prudent, and we've been able to save money for projects now in progress, like our library and the Canaan Interchange. We've been creative, adding a lane to the 101 and Reyes-Adobe interchange. The on-ramp will be a little bit wider. That's being done with no taxpayer dollars, and we're aggressively looking after grants and using dedicated state funds for programs like our popular Dial-A-Ride program. I've been at the forefront, as many of you know, of transportation issues, helping secure upwards of $20 million for the Canaan Interchange, a study of the 101 corridor, and working with Congressman Sherman to secure funding for our expanding bike path system. Our law enforcement is second to none. You're in a very safe city. Our new library, the Agoura Village proposal, turning Reyes-Adobe into a learning center, and preserving the North Lindero Creek watershed are exciting projects that loom in the near and distant future, but together we can make them happen. As long as I serve you, you can be sure that my decisions are independent. I accept no developer money, no PAC money for my campaigns. My only special interest is you, the resident of Agoura Hills. We may face some tough decisions in the next few years, and I think you want people with experience, integrity, and a commitment to this community making those choices. It's an honor to serve you on our council, and I promise to serve you with honor through the next 4 years.
Very good. 2 minutes. Right on the nose. All right.
Thank you.
Next is Ken Horton.
Good evening. My name is Ken Horton, and I've been a resident of Agoura Hills for about 14 years. My kids were raised here. Some of them attended this very school. I've never served one day in public service, but I have volunteered in the community. I've been part of the Agoura Hills Chamber of Commerce. I've worked with the YMCA. I've worked with the Amgen Leadership Committee, and I've also worked on the Technology Foundation here in Las Virgenes. A lot of the people who are in this room I know. A lot of the people who are in the community I know. You can call me old-fashioned, but when I first moved here, I moved here because of the community and because of the school district. I moved here because of the small city feel. I wanted to be in an area where my kids could be raised and not have to worry about the product of the inner city, violence upon them, or some of the other unforeseen things that had happened to kids in the neighborhood that I lived in. When we moved here, we had lived in Santa Monica. And Santa Monica, as you know, is a nice beachside community, but there were a lot of problems there with traffic, with overbuilding, with crowds, and with some of the things that my wife and I were coming out here to get away from. Those are the things that we still want to get away from. Agoura Hills has a special place in my heart, and I'm pretty sure it does for you too, because you wouldn't have bought your homes here if that were not the case. What I would like to do, if I'm elected to the City Council, is to make sure that we keep that rural atmosphere. As far as building is concerned in this city, we need a tax base. We all know that. And you've heard a lot about that over the last few weeks, and you're going to hear about it for weeks to come. What do we do about that? What we do about it is we get you involved as citizens. We form citizens committees to come in and help the City Council figure out some of the tough answers to some of the tough questions. That's what I would like to see on the City Council. Thank you.
Mr. Ed Corridori.
Thank you, Cindy, and thanks to the Fountainwood Homeowners Association and the League of Women Voters for putting on this event. My name is Ed Corridori. I have served 2 terms on your City Council and 2 terms as mayor, and I'm really very proud of the role I've played in the accomplishments of our city. Just look at the unprecedented accomplishments of the last 4 years. Our crime rate remains exceptionally low. We've made major improvements to our streets and parks. We've added 160 acres to protected open space. We've built a new community center gymnasium on time, within budget, totally free of debt. Our new library and civic center will open in just a few weeks. A new Canaan Road 101 interchange will begin construction late next year. We've improved the city's appearance with new signage and landscaping. We have never looked better. We've improved city management and now have the strongest financial position in our city's history. We have improved communications and responsiveness of city government. I'm proud of the role I've played in these accomplishments, but I also know there is more to be done. I will work to implement the Agoura Village Plan. I want to improve the Reyes-Adobe interchange as well as Canaan. I'm working hard to acquire Lindero Creek Park, the land at the north end of Reyes-Adobe Road. I want to continue open space acquisition and preserve the wildlife corridor at Liberty Canyon. I want to restore the Reyes-Adobe and open it to the public. We need to complete all of the planned improvements for our parks. I want to keep our neighborhoods safe with more traffic calming measures and law enforcement. I will fight to control growth and inappropriate development, particularly on our borders. Look at the accomplishments of the past few years. Support the people with a positive vision and a proven record. Give me your vote on November 6th, and I will continue to work hard for you.
And next we have Bob Wax.
Good evening. My name is Bob Wax, and before I begin, I'd like to give my thanks to the League of Women Voters and also to the Fountainwood Homeowners Association for conducting this evening's forum. I love Agoura Hills. I truly love Agoura Hills. It's the best little city in Southern California, and I want to keep it that way. I have a vision for our city. I see a city with gorgeous mountains and hills. I see a city of magnificent old oak trees. I see a city with the remnants of our rural past. And when you approach this city from the San Fernando Valley, the view can take your breath away. It's time for us, the citizens of Agoura Hills, to fight for what our city's founders foresaw for our future. We must once again pick up the general plan of our city and follow it. We must only allow quality development that is in harmony with the general plan. We must make sure that the final development of our city is proper and fitting. I am ready to dig in my heels and meet the challenges our city faces now and in the near future. We must also be prepared to wage the good fight against development on or near our borders that encroaches on our way of life or on our infrastructure. We cannot allow development outside our borders to detract from our lifestyle. We must be proactive in stopping activity that can harm our city. Our city is well run. Our police and fire protection is the finest of any city of our size and larger and smaller. Our open space policies are excellent, and we can be proud of the many acres of open space that has already been protected. We must protect more, and I will support that kind of investment in our future. The Agoura Village Plan is a fine idea that needs to be fleshed out. We have the general idea, now we must make it happen. We must work closely with our individual neighbors To make sure traffic safety is at its highest level, homeowners associations, can be a great help to us.
Next is George Thomas.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for putting this on, as well as the Fountainwood Homeowners Association. My name is George Christopher Thomas, but most people call me Chris. My beginning in community service began as a Boy Scout and a Cub Scout. From there, I went to youth track coach and soccer coach. And as I graduated from high school, I was going to go into the United States Navy. But I had a broken wrist, and they wouldn't let me in. So I went and started working for your congressman, Brad Sherman, and I did that for about 4 years, and I decided it just wasn't enough, and I needed to come back to Agoura Hills and fight for the people. There are many things that we need to do in this election. We need to fix the 101 Canaan interchange. We need to preserve, protect, and defend open space. Not only that, we need to buy it back for future generations to enjoy. We also need an emergency room facility in the area. Our quality of life needs to be addressed, as well as working towards facilitating the development of a media arts center, a theater arts building, and a new gymnasium at Agoura High School. So I respectfully ask for your vote on November 6th. Thank you.
Dennis Weber.
Thank you very much, Cindy, and also to the Fountainwood Homeowners Association for having this opportunity to talk to all of you. I think I'm just a happy city councilman. I'm a very optimistic city councilman, very proactive councilman. When I first ran for election some 8 years ago, there was a theme I wanted to concentrate on, and it was listening to everybody in this city. And you, the residents and the businesses, have educated me over the last 8 years as to what's important to you. I said I wanted to be balanced and independent, and anybody that knows me knows, I think, that I am a balanced and independent type of person. I said I'd protect the quality of life and our environment, and to that extent, I know I fought against Jordan Ranch successfully, thank God. I came out years ago against the Amundsen development, and I started the Open Space Task Force in my year as mayor in 1998. I think that we should need to be reasonable and businesslike when we deal with the business of the city. And we've had balanced budgets, prudent reserves. We've spent millions of dollars over the past few years in roads and parks and programs for seniors and teens. I said I'd promote existing businesses and indeed attract other businesses. And to that extent, I assisted in starting the Economic Development Committee some 8 years ago. I've always attempted to help local businesses in their dealings with the city, and have always supported the chamber through good times and bad. I'm very pro-police and have served the last 8 years on the Law Enforcement Committee. And every year we've had increased support and funding for them. And right now we have additional police officers, motorcycle officers, a community service officer, as well as a yearly decline in crime. I wanted to have a regional approach, and to that extent, we now have a community center. We have to work with the cities around us to keep another San Fernando Valley coming to this valley. I haven't changed my philosophy in the past years. I'm still sort of politically incorrect, and I want to serve one more term to see if my vision combined with the vision of the council can make our city an even better place to live and work. Thank you.
And finally, we have Mr. Melvin Adams.
And finally?
Well, there was supposed to be
No,
another
I'm
one
just
there, I
kidding.
guess.
I'm
Last
Melvin
but not
Adams.
least, Mel.
I'm sorry?
Last but not least.
There you go. I am Melvin Adams. I am running for the position on the City Council for the City of Agoura Hills. I have been a resident here for over 15 years, raising 2 children who currently attend Agoura High School and your Lindero Canyon Middle School. I also work at a local business that has been part of the community for over 35 years, Agoura Equipment Rentals. I am not a politician. I am maintaining the same values and goals that many of you carried when you moved to Agoura Hills. I don't want to see Agoura Hills lose its small community charm. I would like to keep Agoura Hills from turning into the San Fernando Valley, and I'm looking to find more things for the youth to do in Agoura Hills. Thank you.
So we've now completed our opening statements portion. Are there some questions for me out there someplace? we're ready to start the question and answer period. It's my job to try to keep this straight. We'll start with Mr. Reinhardt. He'll get the first question, and everybody will have a chance to answer it for a minute if they'd like. They're not required to do that. If they don't decide to answer a question, it's no reflection on them. It's probably already been said, and we can move on to something they do have an opinion or a new idea on. And then at the next question, we'll start with Ken Horton, and we'll move on down. And if I get confused, I'm sure you'll let me know. Okay, first question. If you had $3 million in discretionary funds to put toward a new project, how would you recommend the money be spent?
Interesting question. $3 million sounds like a lot, but when you're talking about a thing like the Canaan interchange, it's a drop in the bucket. But assuming we have those things taken care of as we have a pretty good plan to attack that project and some others in our city, if $3 million fell from the sky, I'd sure like to see us take the Reyes Adobe Park and the actual Adobe structures itself and turn it into a living learning center. That Adobe is a real landmark that is something that we want to see preserved and be an important part of our community in the future. Secondly, I'd see what we could do about acquiring the area in the North Lindero Creek area up in the northwest border of our city that has been recently acquired by the school district, but they intend to sell off part of that. So between those two projects, it would probably more than speak for that $3 million, but I'd also like to take whatever change might be left and look at further developing the Agoura Village concept into something a bit more tangible.
It's a tough question. I think what I'd like to do with the $3 million for the city is to try to find some kind of way to get matching funds and turn the $3 million into $6 million. Because I think you could do a lot more with that. And I think if the right combination of grant money and other types of funding resources could be looked at, that $3 million could definitely double or even triple. If it did double or if it did triple, I think that one of the things that I would probably like to do with it would be to put some of it aside to take care of the Canaan Road interchange. I would like to look at the possibility of taking some of the existing businesses, like, we have a lot of businesses that are over in the Wizen Center, the antique businesses, and try to springboard off of that and give Agoura Hills an identity. And if there was money left, well, we'd look at some of the other projects that would come before the city. Thank you.
Well, I think if the funds are discretionary, that means that all of our needs are met, and we're now dealing with wants. And I'd like the questioner to maybe bump that to $10 million if he could, or he or she could. But clearly, the acquisition of open space would be the top priority. We have not only the property at the north end of Reyes Adobe, which is contiguous to Rancho Simi open space, has a beautiful year-round creek running through it, and if you haven't seen it, please go there. It should be a very high priority for our city. But we also have spaces along the south side of Agoura Road that would contribute greatly to the rural ambiance of our city and protect our city in the long run from inappropriate development. And I think that's what I would do. I would put the emphasis on open space.
I've been asked this question by my wife on many occasions. If we won the lottery, honey, what would we do with it? And my answer is always the same. We'd pay the electric bill. Aside from that, I believe that if we had $3 million in additional funds, it goes into the general fund and we pay for the bills that are outstanding in the city. We go forward with infrastructure repair, go forward with acquisition of more parklands. We do all the things that are necessary, and it's just that much more that our city has to spend on its needs. And there's no pie in the sky. It's just things we need, and we go forward with it.
Well, if we did have $3 million, I would take a chunk of that and definitely put it towards fixing the 101 Canaan interchange. it has been said that it could cost the city upwards of $17 million, so, you know, maybe a good portion of the $3 million could bring that down. You know, the dead end of Reyes Adobe, my parents live over there. There is a bunch of open space that potentially the city could buy, and I'm all for that. And, you know, as far as what Mr. Horton touched upon, matching funds, but maybe we could go to, say, the school district and say, you know, we'll throw in $1 million, you throw in $1 million, and, you know, let's get a new gymnasium built or something. But what I would do with the $3 million is meet the needs of every single entire resident here in Agoura Hills. Thank you.
It's a good question. Hopefully, they think about making a deposit. My bank could certainly use the extra deposits. Can't pay much interest, though. Not this day and age. I got the impression that the question really was if we had a windfall of another $3 million all of a sudden, and that's the first thing I was thinking of, would certainly take care of the interchange, because that's just about maybe what we would need after our input, the MTA grant, and the Snyder development. We are going to be short maybe $3 to $5 million, and that's what I was thinking of. What we need to do this thing first. However, if that is not the questioner's intent, I also would like to start putting some funds away for that rainy day. The reserves certainly would be dwindling, and also acquire more open space in the city to pick up what we started 4 years ago with my open space task force.
If we had $3 million extra, I'd go right to Reyes Adobe and widen that bridge for the traffic that we're going to end up from the city hall and stuff, that all the new buildings they're building down there. That's all.
Okay, next question. It's 2011. As a council member, you've influenced the city of Agoura Hills. What is it like now? We'll start with Ken Horton.
2011. Well, I think that there would be technology that would have come about where the Canaan Road interchange could be expanded. If not, it might be possible to have built another bridge instead of Canaan Road across the freeway. I see traffic flowing from the San Fernando Valley to the beach without causing a traffic jam for the people who live here in Agoura Hills. I see a beautification project that had taken place probably around 2007, where you drove through the Agoura Hills area, and there were nothing but trees along the freeway and beautiful flowers, so that we would be looked at as not a weed patch, but a beautiful place to drive through.
Interesting question. I see a lot of the things that we see today. I see the ridge lines and the open space that surrounds us, unspoiled, with no building overlooking our city. I see access to open space areas from every neighborhood where people can get out, hike, and have a view of woodlands and parkland from every home, from every street. I see people who live here, working here, and not having to travel to LA to do their job. And I see a place that's particularly safe and happy for our children.
Last forum, I said the same thing. I have to say it again. You're a hard man to follow.
To mix you up.
I don't know how you can read over my shoulder so well. If I had it my way, I would like to see 2011 look like 1950, but I don't think we're going to get that. Just keep it green, keep it lush, keep it as rural as possible, keep it happy and safe. If we can have all that, we can maintain the views that we have. And if we can have the businesses that do the right thing for our community and don't overload us, that's the picture that I would like to see in 2011. I'd like to see that in 3011 too. I don't think I'm going to be there for that one though.
Thank you. The first vision I have is the 101 Canaan interchange being completely fixed and safe, where you can go down there and not get trapped or lost for hours on end. I also see the city being completely beautified, as well as improvements at the high school that I was touching upon, the gymnasium, the Media Arts Center, and the Theater Arts Building. I also see open space being acquired by the council for the next 10 years, so generations to come can enjoy it. And I'd like to see the Reyes Adobe interchange get fixed, and I'd like to see more people my age move back to Agoura Hills and raise their families here. Thank you.
That's a good one, George. I like the last one. But in 2011, without term limits, we may still be on the council. I really think that I'd like to see the no truck stop look to the city. I would love to see someday the billboards gone, the pole signs gone, utility undergrounded. I'd like to see those ridge lines kept, it was mentioned before. But something that is very important to me personally is that my horse wound up in Agoura Hills before I did. And I would like to see Old Agoura still be Old Agoura and not have anything touch it and change the vibrancy and special feeling of that place. So along with the hillsides and the creeks, and I wish you could have it lush all year round, Bob, but Mother Nature doesn't work with us that way. But again, I want to reiterate, we need to clean up our look and get rid of those ugly, ugly signs. Thanks.
I forgot the question.
Ah.
Oh, okay. I would just like it to remain the way it is today and keep it rural and don't get it overgrown and don't get so many signal lights in Agoura. That's all. Thank you.
Jeff?
Thank you. Well, it will be the 30th anniversary of our city, and what a party it is. Okay. We're going to have a wonderful festival celebrating the 10th anniversary of our beautiful new library. We will hopefully be having a wonderful focal point in our community with the Agoura Village, a thriving little center that's both a living and working community for many folks and an attraction to people from outside of our city. The Reyes Adobe interchange will hopefully be widened at that point because it's going to require probably $15 to $25 million to widen that bridge. And quite frankly, until we get the Canaan thing taken care of and improved, that's going to have to be second priority, but we know that. Obviously, the Canaan will have had its 8th anniversary of being functional at that point in time. So all in all, we'll be in good shape as far as our traffic needs are concerned. Our open space will continue to flourish. In fact, hopefully we've added more to that. And Ed Corridori will be over there celebrating the 9th anniversary of the North Lake Lindero Creek project.
Okay, next question. We'll begin with Ed Corridori. What should the City Council's strategy be to purchase open space, considering it will cost millions?
Well, the best thing we can do are the things that we've already done. We have an open space. In fact, this is the open space preservation action plan of the cities. I'm assuming I can do a show and tell here. And it gives all of the details and the measures of how the city is going about to try to acquire open space and to put open space lands into protected categories. In many cases, the landowner can benefit from tax credits and from other financial benefits, and we can work with them for win-win situations. I serve on the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy Advisory Board, and I know there are many ways in which property can be acquired, and not to the detriment of the landowner, but with various agencies pooling resources and various financing methods. And a lot of them are already underway.
There's only so many answers that can be given to that question, and most of them have been answered beautifully. The only additional thing I could see from this point would be if we can work with the federal government, Internal Revenue Service especially, and make sure that people that would be interested in donating excess land, and we do have parcels out here with excess land, can get the appropriate tax breaks for them. And that would be a stimulus for them donating properties. Other than that, we have to buy it like everybody else, and we have to find ways of acquiring the funds. And as Ed said, there are many ways to do that. So we have to continue with that process also.
Well, I think the City Council's strategy to buy back open space would be to get money and then buy it back. And there's many ways to do that. One would be to create a retail sales tax base. If it's a question of another office building popping up or something that creates the retail sales tax base, well, you know, I'm voting for that. And I also believe that, you know, if we need to find money to buy back open space, I understand that the City Council people get paid $200 a month, and I'll be more than happy to give 100 of that to fix the 101 Canaan and the other 100 to buy back open space.
Okay, I'll match it. I'll match it. Then I'll raise you 100. I think that, number one, we did the first thing, as Ed mentioned in that binder you see. It was taken many, many years now to get to this point where we are accumulating the open space. As was mentioned, 160 acres. But I think what we have to do also is possibly work with the legislature to see if we can increase the benefit to the donors, because right now they don't get a full 100% credit. I think if we work with our state senator, our assemblywoman, I think we have a very good chance of maybe changing that law to allow those donors to get more of a tax break, and work with the regional, again, with the cities, our neighbors, to work in concert to have one large open space unit that we can hold on to that land instead of giving it over to possibly the Conservancy or another entity. Have a Canal Valley with Westlake Village, Thousand Oaks, Agoura Hills, and all of the above. So that's what I would like to see.
Everything they just said. I mean, what can I say? I can't say
Thank
anything
you for your
more.
vote, Mel.
Jeff?
Well, Will Rogers is reported to have said, buy land, they ain't making any more of this stuff. And that's true. There's a good plan that we already have on our city council for acquiring open space. We've set up a committee that does work with landowners, and we've done some creative swaps, we've done some acquisitions, and we will continue to accumulate open space at a modest rate, but there's not that much still available within our borders. Do you realize right now, 40% of our city's land area right now is permanently dedicated open space? And that's a wonderful thing to be proud of, because there aren't many communities that can say that. At last night's council meeting, we passed a resolution, again, acquiring more open space. So we're right on top of this one. It'll be interesting to see what happens when Calabasas gets their eviction notice when we're buying that up. But that aside, I think we're on the right track. It doesn't have to cost $1 zillion. It does call for some creative deal making, and yeah, being opportunistic with legislative grants and also some matching funds.
Since Agoura Hills first became a city, up until today, one of the things you can say about this area is we've cared about our open space and we've taken care of it, and I hope we will continue to do that. I am a financial aid counselor. What I do is I find money for students to go to school. I pride myself in being good at that. One of the things that I think I can help the city do is to find money for whatever reason they need it for, because it's out there. It's out there on the federal level, and it's out there on the state level, and believe it or not, there's private funding that's out there to help cities with particular projects like the ones that Agoura Hills is looking at. The trick is to find it. And if you know how to find it, where to look for it, you can find it.
Okay, the next one. Oh, this is when you get to go first. You don't have to follow him. Mr. Bob Wax. What future development do you see coming into Agoura Hills?
What future development do I see coming in? What I see and what, God forbid, may happen are two different things. So I'm going to speak to what I would like to see. I would like to see development that adheres to our general plan, that meets an architectural design criteria that is more in line with the City Hall, which to me is probably the most beautiful building built in the city. I'd like to see development X office project. I don't want to see any more office projects except for very, very special ones because they're revenue negative. I'd like to see projects that give us a little bit of a sales tax base. I'd like to see possibly another motel or hotel in the city that gives us a good tax base, and things of that nature. Low impact, high income.
I would have to agree with Bob here. Given the choice of an office building, which, you know, you go away for a long weekend, you come back, another one has popped up, and the retail sales tax base, I would go for the retail sales tax base. Now, as far as development is a huge issue in the city. It has been since day one. It's the reason that Agoura Hills incorporated to begin with, to curb the development that LA County was doing out here. And I think that what we need to do is we do need to protect our open space, but at the same time, if it's something that's zoned for commercial use, that we get the most revenue for the city out of it. So that's my stance on that.
It's a good question, and I'd like to say thank you for the City Hall. I know I was part of the library committee with Louise Bischoff. It is her child that she's giving birth to, and we picked, so to speak, Louise. But it's a wonderful thing to see, and it is a beautiful building, and that's the things that we took a different approach. I'm always fond of saying we don't need another Spanish mission style in our city, but something different, something more flexible that also shows what we're all about. I also agree with Bob. He and I have talked many times over the past years about what we need in Agoura Hills, and that low impact and the high revenue base is so important, but we don't have to do it and change our guidelines and go to change the 3 and 4 stories. Keep it low, keep it beautiful, and keep it simple.
I would like to see something for the youth, like a bowling alley or a ice skating rink or a skateboard rink or something like that for the kids, because the kids have nothing to do in Agoura Hills. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll tell you what you won't see. You won't see 7- and 10-story buildings because we don't see them now. And we've put in place the guidelines to make sure that things like that don't happen. In fact, we've very closely stuck to our height limitations. 35 feet is all you get here in Agoura Hills, and I want to see us stay with that. So it's going to be low impact. It's going to be well designed, certainly consistent with our established guidelines. But I think the biggest challenge we face in terms of making a development happen is the Agoura Village project. My vision is this, and it's a little crude, but take it for what it's worth. Solvang without the windmills, okay? The patisseries, the book and coffees, the nice mom and pop shops with mixed use, with the ability for those shop owners to live above. This is a housing opportunity as well, giving our young people and perhaps seniors, empty nesters, a place to stay and live in our community. The Agoura Village project is a magnificent challenge, and I really want to see us rise above that and give ourselves a signature project.
I absolutely agree with that. I think that the Agoura Village concept is something that Agoura Hills really does need. And when you think of the Agoura Hills concept, the Agoura Village concept, you think of small, quaint stores. You think of mini stores versus a big store. You think of a lot of little stores. And I'm a person who's very visual. And I guess the first thing that I would want to do would be to come up with some artist renderings so that we could actually take a look from an artist's point of view what that Agoura Village would look like. Put it out to the city so that people who live here can see what it looks like and get some buy-in on it. And then proceed from there.
Here's what Ken's talking about. We've already done it. The Agoura Village concept has been spelled out, and I might add this brochure has been around for a while. This year we will be putting together a specific plan which will give this the force of law. It's not mandated. Right now there is no zoning restrictions that enforce the Agoura Village concepts in that area between Canaan, on Agoura Road between Canaan and Cornell. So that would be very high on my list of the future development I would like to see in the city. I'd also like to point out that any development we get should not impact our residential neighborhoods. One of the advantages of office buildings is that they are very low impact, and one of the disadvantages of retail is that it is relatively high impact. So putting the retail on the other side of the freeway and keeping the residential and office close to the neighborhoods is the best plan to follow.
Now this one, Chris will start. And in 1 minute, Chris, can you tell us what your views are on the Amundsen Ranch project?
I am totally and completely against Amundsen Ranch. I think that it will completely flood the streets of Agoura Hills. The 101 Canaan is bad enough, and having that huge project, which is, you know, technically in Ventura County, but we get all the bad things of it here in Los Angeles County, is wrong. And I know that they've been fighting it for quite some time with the spine flower and the red-legged frog. And hopefully, if elected, I'll be able to, you know, get in the fight and help make sure that Amundsen Ranch does not get built. I'm totally against Amundsen Ranch.
As I previously stated in my opening remarks, I'm also opposed to it. I was a member of Save Open Space when it started to save Jordan Ranch, and I know that they have shifted their focus now to the Amundsen Ranch, and I'm certainly opposed to it. It just might be a beautiful community and a beautiful, you know, piece of work, but not here, not on our borders, and not to further hinder and hurt the Canal Valley. So I've been opposed to it for a long, long time, and as well as the expansion of Soka University. So that's all I have to say about that.
I really have no comment on that. I don't know that much about it.
Mr. Reinhardt.
Thank you. I am opposed to it, have been for quite some time. In fact, attended the rally a few weeks ago. There are many concerns. Certainly the biota are very important. When you find not one but two endangered species on the site, that's something that should be waving a red flag to everyone. And I want to compliment everyone from Brad Sherman down through Assemblywoman Pavley, Sheila Kuehl, Zev Yaroslavsky, so many of the folks who've gotten on board creating the awareness that this project is not good. From another aspect, as you know, I'm very close to traffic issues. 45,000 additional vehicle trips per day put onto the Ventura Freeway is a bad thing. And then having to bring all the children who live at that project to schools in Oak Park means they would have to traverse the freeway coming up from Malibu Canyon to Canaan Road, up Canaan Road to the Oak Park schools. This is not a winner for our cities. It's a project that at one time, I don't even know how it got out of the bag, but the fact that it's located entirely in Ventura County and all the impacts fall in LA County, it just doesn't seem fair.
I, too, am opposed to it. And being a realist, I think one of the things that you have to think about is what happens if it does come. One of the things that a city like Agoura Hills has to do is to realize that it just may happen, folks. We may not want it, we may be against it, we may have all the bad thoughts that we have about it, but if it comes, what are we going to do? So now is the time for Agoura Hills to start really thinking about what they're going to do if it does happen. Let's continue to fight it, let's continue to raise the flags against it, but at the same time, let's put a strategy and a methodology together to be able to do something about it if it does come, to protect our city.
I'm also opposed to the Amundsen Ranch project. I think it's very misstated. Its environmental qualities are very, very overstated. I've actually flown to Sacramento to meet with the governor's staff along with the mayors from other cities in this area, Thousand Oaks and Calabasas and others from Gila Bay, to attempt to get Fish and Game to be more stringent in getting permits or giving permits to Amundsen. I've testified before the Select Committee on Air and Water Quality as to the negative impacts of the Amundsen project in our city. It's grossly unfair that we're going to be saddled with a bill for our interchange of somewhere between $11 and $17 million. And Ventura County, which already provides probably more than half of the traffic impacts on that bridge will actually put in less than $500,000 over the next 10 years. So it's a terrible project from my perspective.
I like it. In Victorville.
Okay. Next is Dennis Weber. You'll begin with this question. What plans do you have for young people?
I'm sorry, I got
What-
this last part.
yeah. What plans do you have for young people?
For young people. It's been a long time since I was young. I just, well, first of all, my young people are my son who's 9 and my daughter who's 4. And I know I don't look like I should have those younger kids, but I do. And I'm blessed because of it. But I have to tell you that I have been in my advanced age, and Mr. Thomas said he would not make an issue of that, this campaign, that I am the youth director of the Rotary Club of Westlake Village Sunrise. I'm on the board of governors of the Boys and Girls Club Suicaneo Valley. And I am the Cub Master for Willow School, PAC 227. Now, that's not talking about youth. I don't know what is. They do need to have a place to go, as Mel said, and I would love to have some enterprising business to bring something like that up and bring it before the city council. But the young people are, like as George over here, they are our future. It sounds trite, but it is the truth, and we need to develop them and embrace them and love them.
I'm not on the city council yet, so I'm not real sure what I can do and what I can't do for getting them. But like I said before, the youth does need something in Agoura Hills, excuse me. Thank you.
Thank you. We already have an excellent Parks and Rec program for our young people. There are many wonderful trips and activities that our excellent recreation staff does do. And I think that's a wonderful way to start addressing some of the things for young persons to do. For the very young, we've already improved all of our parks in the past 4 years since I've been on council. Every single park, brand new playground equipment, and a good family gathering place there. But perhaps the crowning thing, I'm kind of mystified a little bit that quote unquote there's nothing to do. We built this beautiful new community center that's bought and paid for, and it has great activities for not only exercise, but the basketball leagues are full up over there. And we also have a great basketball program going on. We built new baseball diamond at Old Agoura Park when we put that in. And I understand the YMCA just got approved in Westlake Village last night. I do support Y programs for their youth and government activities, and have worked with them over the years. There's a lot of different things, and I think the city is a hub for youth activities, but I don't think we're the sole source of it.
I don't really have young kids anymore. All my kids are older. My youngest is 20, my oldest is 32. But I remember back in 1989, 1990, 1991, we asked that same question. What can we do in our community to help the kids have a better time of it? And now I can honestly sit here today and say some things have been done, but I just don't think it's enough. And I think that the people who need to have input in those decisions are the kids themselves. We need to go into the high schools, we need to talk to the kids who are in junior high schools and find out what kind of activities they'd like to see. Us adults are really good at putting together activities for kids, and we've done a pretty good job of it. As Jeff has said and mentioned some of the things that we now have, that is absolutely true. We have a lot more now than we did back in 1989 and 1990. But I think with the kids' input, and we have some smart kids in this area, we'll be able to come up with some better activities for them.
Well, I think Jeff Reinhardt was absolutely correct. We do have a great deal of activities for our kids. In fact, so much so that Westlake Village uses our parks and recreation programs rather than creating their own. And it's been a great partnership we've had with them. And we've partnered with Calabasas to build a community center gymnasium, which is packed to the walls with kids on a regular basis. Clearly, there's never going to be enough recreational facilities. We need to be working on it all the time. We've put money into our parks every year. I'd like to see the tennis courts at Morrison Park get finished. I think we need more playground equipment at Chumash Park. which is a large park but has a fairly small playground equipment. And there's other areas. But we also have a brand new library that's going to have a spectacularly beautiful children's area. And your children are going to enjoy spending time in the library like we did when we were kids.
I personally think our preteen children are well taken care of in the city. We have so many things for them. Our younger teenagers also have a lot of activities, as have been mentioned by everybody before me this evening. The most difficult area, I believe, are the older teens. They're very, 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 very difficult to please. I was an older teen a long time ago, and I was hard to please, and you all probably suffered from the same problem. I know as a teenager what I like to do, and I know no way of sponsoring it by city monies. So I think we have to be very careful what we do, and I'm not sure I have an answer for that, but I'd sure like to discuss it with people that do know.
I might actually be the authority on answering this question. There is one 24-year-old that graduated from Agoura High School in 1995, and I hope we're all planning on him being a city council person this November 6th. But what I would do, and the age-old question, especially for my generation, is there's nothing cool to do in Agoura Hills. And to find out what is cool, you know, you'd actually have to ask the kids themselves. And besides the Media Arts Center that I am, you know, supporting, in a theater arts building and a new gymnasium, things like after-school programs. You see, I was too busy with football and track and field to ever have any time to do anything else but come home and go to bed. I won't lie, my parents are in the audience. I didn't really do the homework, but I'd come home, eat, and go to bed. But I think we definitely need to take a look at what the kids want. I mean, I got a senior at Agoura High School. He's my little brother, and he would be more of the person to talk to than, you know, maybe the adults.
Okay, we've gone all the way around. Okay, yes. Mel, you get to start the next one.
It's going to be a yes or no question.
Yes, as a matter of fact, you could do it that way, yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Do you accept campaign contributions from anyone or organizations outside Agoura Hills?
No, I did not.
It's going to be a quick one.
Well, yeah.
All right.
No, I do not accept PAC money, nor do I accept special interest or developer money. The only money that's come from my campaign has been an occasional friend or neighbor. I think a total of maybe 2 outside of Agoura Hills folks that I know. But all of the rest of my contributions, and they've been many, and I thank them for that, have come from within the city, from our residents.
Well, if you don't know, I don't accept campaign contributions at all. One of the things that I decided to do in this election was to make sure that I didn't take anyone's money. Because what am I going to do with it? I'm not going to have any yard signs. I'm not going to be printing a lot of flyers to send around, because that's a waste of trees and resources. And if you really want to contribute to my campaign, please send the money to New York, to the firefighters back there, or please send the money in care of some of the police officers who died. Don't spend your time giving me any money, because I'm going to give it back to you. Thank you.
I don't accept PAC money. I don't accept money from anyone who has business before the city, developers. All of my contributions come from residents of Agoura Hills, except for one that I know of, a doctor who has an office in Agoura Hills but happens to live in Oak Park and has been a friend for a long time.
I also received, I didn't receive hardly anything, but I received everything from Agoura Hills, and everything has been from individual contributors. And that's the way I plan to keep it.
Well, I'm going to have to answer that I have taken money from people outside of the city of Agoura Hills. I went back to Washington, D.C., and I don't know if anyone here knows this, but I worked for Congressman Brad Sherman, who represents Agoura Hills, back in D.C. for a couple of years. So 2 of his former chiefs of staff, Bill Grady and Peter Loge, have contributed to my campaign. And as far as the developer issue, I've only accepted a campaign contribution from one developer, and that is my dad. My dad, even though he's a pro-environmentalist, is a developer, but I don't think that me accepting that contribution is going to have any effect at all on the way that I vote, especially, you know, open space and building things here in our city. Thank you.
It's a very good question. I didn't realize until today in the Acorn that I had taken somewhat developer money. I haven't. I have a total, I had a double check. I have a total of 36 individuals have given me checks, 36 checks. And 80% of those folks are residents of Agoura Hills. If you've some folks that do business in Agoura Hills, they don't live here, then it's probably quite a bit higher. I've taken one developer money, and that was a personal friend of mine, Mr. Trejo. Also, it was noted in the Acorn today, Mr. Duzenblon, who is a resident before he is a developer. He's been here for, I think, 15 or 16 years. So I consider him a friend and a neighbor. And yes, I took one development, a total of about $500 out of about almost 5,000. Thank you.
Okay, next question. We'll start back at the top again. Most people move here for the schools. In what way can the city support local schools?
Very good. We do have an existing city schools committee that meets actively with members of the school district. We also know several of the, if not all of the members of the school board in the Las Virgenes Unified School District. We've had a number of cooperative programs with the schools over the years, in fact, sharing their facilities, using them as recreational facilities and the like. As far as learning is concerned, again, Parks and Rec programs and some of the programs we do as individual council people going in and lecturing in the schools is a good form of interaction that we've been using for quite some time. As far as actually building things on the school properties and so on, the school district budget dwarfs that of our city. And we can cooperate, as we have, in certain beautification projects. In fact, Mrs. Thomas is very instrumental in that, Nancy Baldino as well. And we've worked with them in other areas where we can cooperate in beautifying and sharing some of the responsibilities that the school district thrusts upon us, being in our city. We pay for the crossing guards, for example. The school district does not. There are other opportunities, but again, whose budget's bigger? The school district's.
Well, I think that an ongoing dialogue has to be opened up with the school district. I'm not really sure what the city is doing with the school district right now. My kids have been out for a while, so I don't really know. But I know that there are other wonderful cities and school alliances throughout this country that could probably be explored. And I think it would probably start at the school district level. What does the school district really need for the city to do? And then open up that dialogue so that some kind of solution can be found.
Well, I've been endorsed by every member of our school board. Our city has worked really very closely with the school board. We've provided facilities. The lights on the tennis courts at the high school were paid for by the city. Most recently, some of the beautification efforts, the sidewalk in front of the high school, which is actually school property, was built by the city. We've also do some other things. Jeff mentioned the school crossing guards and some other issues. We provide the juvenile intervention team, which works, and the SANE DARE program, and I don't know the name of it. I changed the name over the years, but we've provided those services. We do have after-school programs that our recreation people provide, and I think just the fact that we're meeting on a regular basis and we're on a first-name basis with the school board. Recently had a joint meeting with the school board, so we're doing a lot in that area.
We certainly must continue full cooperation with the school district and the individual schools. I think from the city's perspective, the biggest hand we can have in helping them is safety issues. We can't do the teaching. We really can't deal with the infrastructure of the schools because the separate entities, they don't even have to come to us for building permits. They're an individual entity by themselves, actually a political subdivision, if you will. They are an entity unto themselves. As an example, though, of safety that we can look into, there's been an issue for a number of years on Chesborough Road where the track team from Agoura Hills High School runs down Chesborough every day when they're in season. It's a terrible danger, and I think that's something we have to work towards getting fixed for the future. That's an example of safety that we have to work with the schools about. I'm sure we have similar issues at other schools.
I think I might be the only candidate up here that graduated from high school in the 90s, especially from Agoura High School, so I might be able to, you know, get into this question a little bit more. I think the cities and the school districts can work together in tandem for the, you know, benefit of the community. For example, the city of Beverly Hills has a joint powers agreement with the school district where they give part of their money to the school district to make sure that everything is taken care of. Granted, we have to fix the 101 Canaan interchange, buy back open space, and there's other things on the city's agenda, but I think that bringing in a retail sales tax base will create the funds needed where we could go and help support like a media arts center or a theater arts building at Agoura High School. So I think there is definitely a way to have the city and the school district work together, and if elected, I definitely look forward to doing that.
I'm not going to tell you when I graduated from high school, George. None of your business. I've had the pleasure of working on the city school committee for probably most of my time on the council, and it's really it's a wonderful opportunity to meet with not only the police department, people from our park and recs centers, as well as Larry Meisel and the principal from YB. And we really have a wonderful dialogue with the school, and we're always raising issues and getting input and giving them input. We try to structure our programs out of those committees, and it's just a great opportunity for me personally to reach out and see what those kids are going through. The leadership from the school attends, and between our J team and the STAR program that Ed was mentioning. In fact, this morning we met again to talk about the visual arts, a new gymnasium this morning. We did that with Dave Adams and the school district. So it's very important to me, and we have to go forward with it.
I feel that the schools in Agoura, the Las Virgenes School District, are fabulous. I have my two girls go to school here, and I think they're doing a good job. I don't know what we can do until you vote me on the city council.
Okay, Ken Horton, could you give us your convictions regarding our city's general plan?
When I first looked at the general plan a few years ago, I wasn't really sure whether the city was going to be able to actually live up to the high expectations that the plan had set forth. I've seen some very conscientious city council persons over the last few years who have appeared anyway to have a conviction toward living up to that plan. If I were on the city council, I would definitely make sure that that city plan was adhered to. And probably read it a lot more than I did when I scanned through it before.
Good question. It's a very, the general plan is a very formidable document. It's also a living document. It calls for the amount of development in the city, retail, office, residential, calls for the areas of development. It spells out what the future of the city will be according to plan. There's a housing element of the general plan that says what the city needs to do to provide more affordable housing for people. There's and we've just made some revisions to that part of the plan. I guess I think we should continue to adhere to the plan as it has been laid out, but we also have to look at the realities of the future to keep our city as livable as we possibly can, and that is the ultimate purpose of the plan.
I may be the biggest believer in the general plan because it seems like I've been reading it since 1992. It really, really puts everything into perspective. It lays out how this city is supposed to develop out. And it certainly is a living plan. It gets modification as needed, but it's still the guideline. One of the best things about it is it interlocks, it goes hand in hand with the North Area Plan. It's the city's version, if you will, of the North Area Plan. And as they can mesh together, we are going to get the finest of development in the city. It lays it out. It really, truly is the roadmap for how we finish off our city. There's not much left to do to build here before we're done. We only have some infill, and it's over with. So we have to be very careful. I think we have to follow this guideline very carefully.
Just like some of the others have touched upon, the general plan is like a, a blueprint or a handbook of what we're going to do with the city, kind of like a constitution, if you will. And just like the Constitution gets amended, so can the general plan. But I think that we should definitely go forward in adhering to it and implementing it. And, if a little quirk or speed bump comes up along the way, well, that's why you elect city council people to begin with. So I'm definitely for implementing the general plan.
As I am too. Again, it is that blueprint. It's something that you need to stay with. And we've also given the city staff and the planning commission enough leeway to make those close calls, and we need to applaud them when they do, in fact, use their good judgment. And if they are not flexible and are willing to at least listen to other components of the plan, that's when the light of day shines upon the applicant, and see how close he or she is adhering to our general plan, because nobody wants to deviate that much from it, because it's kept us out of trouble all these years, and there's no reason to think it can't in the future.
I have a lot to learn. I have no idea about a lot of these things that they're speaking about, but I will check into them. Thank you.
The general plan is your core set of values as a city, as to what you want to look like, as to how you flow, as to how you function. The heavy lifting on that general plan is done on the Planning Commission. And if my calculations are correct, by the way, the general plan has to be reviewed by law every 5 years. And if my calculations are correct, next year is that year. So you have to review it, you have to go through it. And this is one of the important things that a council person does, by the way. That a council person appoints someone to the Planning Commission. Okay, they make a recommendation, and the mayor ultimately approves that. Who's going to sit on that Planning Commission is going to have a great deal of influence on how that general plan comes out. And the general plan must, as Ed said, be a living document, and it has to be something that reflects each individual quality of neighborhoods. For example, Old Agoura is already working on the recommendations for its overlay district for the general plan revision. So it's something we do keep a close eye on, and in my mind, you don't have to worry about enforcing through the general plan. That's what we have staff for. If it doesn't comply with the general plan, in my opinion, it doesn't get built.
Ken? Oh, we started with you. Sorry. Okay. All of you advocate open space, ridge lines, and keeping things the same. How do you reconcile that with your previous comments calling for more economic development?
I think it's actually very easy to reconcile. The economic development that we've had in this city has been very low impact. If you look at the furniture stores, the NW Rugs store, those are retail uses that have fairly high dollar retail sales but very low traffic impacts. If you look at some of the buildings that have been built, the office buildings contiguous to Hillrise, for example, they bring very high-paying jobs to the city, but they're also very low impact in terms of their impact on residential neighborhoods. I know, I live right next to it. The lights in the parking lot are very dim, and it's a very attractive building. It's screened with a lot of landscaping. I think our open space is a resource and an asset to our city, and it brings the high-paying, upscale kinds of businesses to our city that have a low impact on our neighborhoods, and that's the ideal combination.
Excuse me. I see what we have left in the city, which is not a whole lot of commercial property left to be developed. It's owned by somebody, and they're going to go ahead with development, so we can't stop that. What we can do is control what we get. We have the tools to control it. That, again, we go back to the general plan. And what I think we have to do is we have to issue an invitation to certain types of business. There's no guarantee we can get them, but we have to try to bring in the types of business that, as I stated earlier this evening, are high dollar, low impact businesses. Example being furniture stores, appliance stores, things of that nature. Very few cars, every sale is a lot of money. That's the direction I'd like to see our city go.
I think the answer is balance, balancing economic development and growth with preserving open space. I think the two can be done simultaneously. For example, and please correct me if I'm wrong, where that Tony Roma's is over by, what is it, Reyes Adobe and Agoura Road, isn't that vacant? I mean, there's no one even in there. I mean, why would we build another thing if we have vacant buildings already? So let's put a business in there, a retail sales tax space or whatever it may be, and you know, we can also buy open space. It's a question of balance.
It's a great question, and certainly there's the balance I spoke of in my opening remarks. Remember, everything is being built right now in Agoura Hills, for the most part, probably 95% of it is in the redevelopment area that was carved out well long before I was on the city council, and it's going to help that tax base I was talking about. So I think I can reconcile it, because as it was mentioned previously, 40% of our city is already open space, and we want to preserve what we have, but allow the development to come only along the freeway corridor where the redevelopment agency had planned it a long time ago. We need to have that balance, and with the right combination in only that area, I think we can be very successful and be able to get the money to pay for the roads and the parks and the programs we've been talking about.
If we keep the community the way it is now and not build all the big retail stores or big buildings or anything like that, we won't have to fix the roads. Like I said before, my feelings are to get things for the youth to do and keep Old Agoura and Wizens the way they are right now, and just slow the growth down a little bit.
To find the balance you're looking for, again, go back to the general plan where it was laid out long ago. The freeway corridor is not the ideal place for open space to be, so we knew that that was going to be commercial, and people didn't want to live necessarily right next to the freeway for the most part. Now, the office buildings that have been built in our city do give us another function, and that is now it's part of the smart cities concept, and that is it's possible to both live and work here for a lot of folks. There are quality jobs here that were not here before. 15, 20 years ago, this was a bedroom community. Now, when that happens, you not only have more time for mom and dad to have time with their family, meet with the teachers, go to the kids' sports programs and the like, but you also take a load off the freeway. These folks aren't spending their lives on the freeway and leaving room for some other folks. There are open space opportunities that we have taken advantage of just this past year in Old Agoura, right over here in Fountainwood, and again last night in our hills. You won't see development up where everybody can see it. That's where the open space does the most good, but I also still want to see that Lindero Creek project come alive and add to our open space inventory.
Well, everybody's mentioned the word balance, which is the word that came to my mind when the questioning first started. and you do need to have a delicate balance in this city. Redevelopment is also a catchword. When you have buildings that already exist, or you have land that's already laid out for building, you need to use that for that. We're not going to build an open space in this community. We already know that. So the thing to do is to come up with a delicate balance where we can utilize the land that has already been set aside for businesses and build on it, but build on it in a reasonable way so that it can provide the tax base that we're looking for.
Okay, next question. Start with Mr. Wax. What is your experience dealing with development issues and projects in our city?
Sounds like somebody wrote that question for me. For the last 7 years, I've been very involved with my homeowners association's architectural and development committee. I'm a familiar face at Planning Commission and at City Council because we've spoken pro or con on so many developments in the city. Development in the sense, be it construction of a new home or construction of a new commercial or retail parcel, or even so far as some major remodeling projects. Aside from that, I had over 20 years in the building industry prior to coming to Agoura Hills, so I have quite a bit of familiarity with the subject matter, and I'm up to snuff with what's going on in our city today.
Let's see, my experience with development issues. Since I'm only 24, I can't say that I have a long resume of experiences. I do know, at the dead end of Reyes Adobe, everyone in that community that I've been talking to supports the buying of open space as opposed to building homes. I don't know if you guys know this, but the school district does own that land, and it's going to be a question of do we build homes or do we buy the open space. As far as other development, I spent 4 years on Congressman Brad Sherman's staff and sat in many a long meeting about Amundsen Ranch and how you would fight that with, the spine flower and the red-legged frog. So, when it comes to development, I think I definitely have, my finger on the pulse of Agoura Hills. Thank you.
In my time as the president of the Morrison Ranch Homeowners Association, I was given an immersion course being a delegate to the Las Virgenes Federation. That sort of set me up to learn a lot more that I ever knew was possible of knowing about what the type of developments and the things that went on behind the scenes. Since I've been on the council, I've made it a point to talk to the staff on a regular basis, maybe too much. They're tired of hearing from me. But I really want to know what their thinking is and try to understand where they're coming from. I've also taken the same approach by talking to everyone, always being a listening post for anyone that wanted to talk to me, whether it be a business person or a residential individual, that tell me what you think about these items. And I've really enjoyed that time, that education from both the business and development community as well as the staff as to why we can or can't do something. And that's my experience, and that's what I intend to do, to keep listening and talking and acting.
I have spoke to nobody about any type of development, so elect me to be on the council and I can find out about it too.
Well, good planners aren't born, they're made. I wish we were born with this stuff, but we're not. In addition to the 4 years on council, 6 years on planning commission, have had a lot of opportunities to review projects in our city, and you've seen a lot of them. The beautiful Salagi office buildings we referred to earlier, the Reed's Furniture, the NW Rugs, and many very nice residences in various parts of our city, including many in Old Agoura. The city has helped the education of a lot of our planning commissioners, myself included, by sending us off to seminars put on by the League of California Cities, and they are excellent. One of the little items you get is this little pocket planner's guide, which this is my 3rd edition. I've worn out 2 of them, I think. And it's a jargon and a whole discipline that you really need to immerse yourself in to make good planning decisions. I would hope that you look at something, for example, like the USA gas station, which is like no other gas station on this planet. Now, if we can show that kind of sensitivity with a gas station, think of what we can do with the rest of the community if we really put our minds to it.
When you look around Agoura Hills, how many buildings do you see that you're not proud of? Not too many. So that means that the city councils of the past have done a good job in making sure that the building that's gone on has been a good kind of building. I would like to see that continue. I don't have a lot of experience with building issues or things like that, but I am a quick study. When I look around and see what we already have, I'm wise enough to know that that's what this community wants. And I'm wise enough to be able to make decisions that will make sure it stays that way.
Well, I actually spent almost 10 years in the residential construction industry. I earned a California general contractor's license, which I've allowed to expire. And I served as an arbitrator in construction disputes for a number of years. So I have some experience, I guess, on the other side of the desk. My experience on the council tells me that you have to stick to your standards. And I've been able to say no when I believe that the applicant did not meet the standards of the city. We said no to a go-kart track next to residential property. We said no to a theater next to Annandale. We turned down a glass and chrome building, which we thought was inconsistent with our architectural guidelines. And I think that's the kind of experience, the give and take that actually occurs when a development project comes before the council.
Okay, this is the fun question. What is your position on the Home Depot?
This is actually a fun question. The city attorney has said that council candidates and people on the city council can't take a position on it because if you do, then it automatically bars you from ever voting on the proposal. And it does make some sense when you actually take a look at it. The proposal itself is in the very infantile stages where it hasn't gone through the planning commission and gone through the whole process of the city government, the reason why we even have, a city government. So what I have done is on my website and on my handout back there, I'm allowing the residents to vote on the Home Depot. And then if elected, I will represent the majority view. Because I don't want to shoot myself in the foot and, take a position either for or against it. And then, lo and behold, I get elected and I'm not allowed to vote on one of the most important issues, obviously, this year. So I refer everyone to my website, georgechristopherthomas.com, and please feel free to pick up a flyer back there and send me your comments on it. Thank you.
I guess I have to echo what George just said. We've been precluded from making comments on it, but I will tell you that the site that is in question, people are asking, what do you think should go there? And I've told them all along, to be very honest, I'm not hypocritical, is that there's something need to be developed there to clean up some of the blight that we still have in our city. Yes. Is it Home Depot? I don't know. We haven't seen an ERR. We haven't seen a traffic study. We haven't seen any evidence yet to make a decision with. And I think it would be unconscionable of us to try and to do that. And any applicant that comes before the city has the right to demand that the process is followed. And to do otherwise would be basically, I think, immoral. Now, everybody takes a chance on a project getting approved, and this particular project is no different. It's a roll of the dice for any of the individuals as well as this particular applicant. So that's all I can say about that. And you can also let me know on my website, dennisweber.com, if you so desire.
What was the question again? I'm sorry.
What is your position on the Home Depot?
I don't want the Home Depot.
Okay, well, as was mentioned, our legal counsel has been very explicit that prejudicing your position could lead you to disqualification. We already had at the last forum 3 candidates basically disqualify themselves from that vote. And this is not Afghanistan, okay? We don't announce the verdict and then have the trial. This is the United States of America, where anybody who walks through the door of City Hall is entitled to due process. and we have to honor that process. Whether or not we think the project is yes or no, that will come out in the process. You will have time to come in and review that project. You will see the environmental impact report. You will go to the planning commission meetings or see them on TV. And if it's appealed, you'll go to council and do the same thing. That's what our process is about. Is it right for our city? We need to learn that because we don't even have a complete application in the door yet. To condemn it or to approve it before that happens shows really, I think, kind of a lack of judgment that is required in a council person.
A traffic study, an environmental impact report, those are all wonderful things. But before you allow someone to come into the city, you need to know a little bit more about them. And I think that I feel it's an unfortunate situation that our city council is in because they feel that they can't say anything about it. But I've done some research on it, and I want to let you know that it was real research, where I looked at not only the environmental impact report and the study, but I looked at who Home Depot is. I looked at their reputation. I look at what they've done in other small cities across this country and around the world. If those are the kind of facts that you need before you make a decision on Home Depot, those are the kind of facts that I have. If you need the environmental impact report and the traffic study, then go to the city for that. Thank you.
I wouldn't treat this project differently than any other. If it cannot mitigate the traffic that it generates, and if it can't meet the architectural standards of the city, if it can't deal with other impacts that it creates, it should be denied. But it should not be denied without a hearing. Certainly should not be denied based on its reputation. Some of us wouldn't be living here, I suppose, if that was the case. Every project has impacts and it has benefits, and that's what the process is designed to do. It's designed to get to the heart of the project and to determine whether, in fact, as the applicant wants to do it, whether it's a benefit to the city or not. And that includes the project that could be the addition of a family room to your house. I don't think you want that decision being made before you have a chance to state your case, and I don't think any other decision should be made that way.
I agree with everything that has been said from this side of the table especially, and also from this side. There's a number of things that make a lot of sense, but something a little further. We have methodology in place that helps us make the decisions to what is being built. We have a planning commission that does an extremely good job. Now, when an issue comes before them, there is a time when the citizenry of this community can speak, pro or con, about a subject. An issue like Home Depot, which raises so many questions with so many people, if the city finds it necessary to have a larger venue for a meeting that deals with this, I'm sure we'd have no problem having it in the Agoura High School gymnasium or a larger venue than city council chambers. So I think at that time we can deal with that and have all the people say everything they want to say, and it's tantamount to a vote of the people. It'll help make that decision at that time.
Okay, we're now at the place where if we have one more question, we're going to run 5 minutes over, or we could get out of here 5 minutes early. I'll do whichever way you want to do that.
Bring it for a
Go
vote.
ahead. Okay. One last question.
I was going to say, who votes?
Oh. Sorry. Last question. Actually, most of these questions have already been pretty well covered. So, what do you see as the city's role in the implementation of the North Area Plan? And Dennis, you start.
The North Area Plan encompasses a huge body of land, very complex issues here. The North Area Plan, while it attempts or alleges to take control of some land and put it aside, I think the one issue I have with it is that it doesn't address the ability to recreate in those areas, which is one of the reasons I have some problems with it. I think when government takes upon itself to take land out of an individual's ability to develop it, then they either, number one, they need to write him a check or her a check, or at least allow us the ability to go and use it and not just treat it as a beautiful museum piece that you can look at it and not touch it. So that's the one issue and the only issue I have against the North Area Plan. Otherwise, it's appropriate, but not private property rights are tantamount in this country, so we've got to balance those two.
I have no comment on that.
Some months back, we had a vote on our council supporting resolution on the North Area Plan, and I voted for it, and I'm proud to say that I did. The Santa Monica Mountains are a very precious commodity, and neighboring our community, yeah, we're a stakeholder. We have a very important role in seeing to it that the Santa Monicas are preserved, and certainly in some perpetuity. The Santa Monicas are a resource we just absolutely cannot afford to squander, because once they're gone, they're absolutely gone. The North Area Plan is something that was arrived at through an awful lot of consensus building through the communities. It wasn't just something that was sprung on folks by surprise. Now, there were some equestrian users who were concerned about their ability to use the Santa Monicas. I'll defend to the death their ability to enjoy equestrian privileges in the Santa Monicas, but that's not what the plan is about. The plan is about good, sound planning, good, sound preservation, and a long-term look at what the Santa Monica Mountains should look like a century from now.
I totally support the North Area Plan, and I think that once I've had a chance to really get in and work with some of the people who are involved with it, that some more basic questions can be asked about it. Dennis brought up one that has made me think about it in a different way, and that is property rights. What would you do if someone came to you and made an offer on your home and it was an unfair offer, or you didn't think it was a fair offer? Would you give it up simply in the name of the North Area Plan? Those are the kind of questions that I think need to be dealt with, and I will deal with it.
I just happen to bring a copy of the plan with me. Show and tell. I think Jeff Reinhardt was absolutely right on this. The question actually was about implementation. The city is sending representatives to work with the county planners in order that when the county does things out here, it doesn't negatively impact our city. And let me just read you, the guiding principle of the Santa Monica Mountains North Area Plan is to let the land dictate the type and intensity of use. Just some of the goals: preservation and enhancement of the natural environments and scenic beauty of the area, preservation of the area's natural terrain with minimal alterations to existing undisturbed area, protection and expansion of the wide range of public and private outdoor recreational opportunities. And it goes on. This is an excellent document, and our city needs to put as much emphasis on implementing this by the County of Los Angeles so that we can avoid the mess they left us with in 1982.
Bob?
An absolutely fabulous plan. To read it, it actually reads well. It's not one of those thick documents that you go, oh my God, I can't understand this. You can read it and you can understand it. It's a large document. I think that's the shrunken version of it that Ed held up. I wish we had a third form. I think to one up him, I'd bring a mountain with me so that I could have some show and tell too. But the North Area Plan, I think, is the most or the best protective device created in this area for sure ever. Is it perfect? I think it's pretty darn close. If we run into problems with it, if we find problems, and that occurs with any law, especially one that's so thick, we can deal with it as it comes up. But I think we should move forward with it. It will keep what we have, and that's what I've been saying all along. I'm selfish. I want to keep what we have. I don't want to lose it.
You've been really good about letting the candidates speak without audience response. Could we just hang on another couple minutes? Okay.
Well, the North Area Plan has been around for a while. I want to go on record as stating that I am a strong proponent of the recreation area in the Santa Monica Mountains. One of the first people that inspired me to go into politics was Congressman Tony Bielenson, and he is the grandfather of the Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area. And as you know, Agoura Hills is the gateway to the Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area. I think that when there's doing planning and development outside city boundaries, documents like this and different levels of government coming together to work towards the common good of our, society and this area is a very good thing. But I also am a supporter of private property rights. It's what our country was based upon to begin with, and I think there can be balance between the two, and we can make sure that the Santa Monica Mountains are there for the next 200 or 300 years.
Okay. Now we're to the point where we are going to have closing statements by the candidates, 2 minutes each. If it's all right with you, I'd like to start down at that end and move this way, so we get a little different, somebody gets a chance to speak ahead of the people they've been speaking behind. All right? So we will then start with you, Mel.
Well,
Please.
I'll make it very short and sweet. My name is Melvin H. Adams. I'm running for City Council of Agoura Hills. Everybody come out and vote November 6th for me. Thank you very much.
Can I take the rest of his time?
I'm going to sing a song later.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank again the Homeowners Association and the League of Women Voters for giving us the opportunity to do this. I'm very proud of my record on City Council. I'm proud of the people that have supported me. It's the most wonderful thing anybody can give you is their name, not their check. And I'm blessed with wonderful friends and supporters. I mentioned before that a fellow that everybody probably knows is Dennis Prager, a big idol of mine. And I made him a promise one time, and I'm going to repeat myself, so bear with me, that I will always try to honor him. And he said that I could honor him by keep making him a promise by always acting, speaking, and voting, is that you were not running for re-election. And I think I have done that. And again, Fran Pavley, who's our Assemblywoman, once told me just before she left office that it was a compliment that I talk to everybody and listen to everybody. And I do, and I haven't changed. I haven't changed in these past 8 years, and I still want to keep that up. I pledge that I will keep listening and talking and acting and speaking and voting as if I was not running for re-election. I am a Rotarian, and there's a four-way test we try to live by, both professionally and personally. And it's, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it bring goodwill and better friendships, and will it be beneficial to all concerned? That's what we have to do as elected officials. Use that four-way test in everything we do. And I pledge to you I will not change. I'll continue to live that Rotary four-way test, and I'll keep on talking and listening. And you have, remember, you have 3 votes on November the 6th. I ask for 1. Thank you.
I would like to thank the League of Women Voters and the Fountainwood Homeowners Association for having this forum. There are many issues that are facing our city right now, finding funding to fix the 101 Canaan, buying back open space, a lot of issues at the high school, Media Arts Center, and whatnot. And I think that, if you elect me to the City Council, I will not only focus on 1 or 2 issues, I will take a look at all of them, and I will represent the people of Agoura Hills. I have a long history in this community, from volunteering my time as a coach. I'm also the popcorn guy at the high school football games. So a week from tomorrow, you can come over and I'll get you some popcorn. I worked for your congressman for 4 years. I've done TV shows, radio shows. I worked for a newspaper. But what I'd really like is an opportunity to take the experiences that I've had in politics and actually translate them into action. And that's the reason that I'm running for City Council. And I'm number 12 on your ballot. And I hope, like Dennis said, you have 3 votes. And hopefully I will get 1 of them. Thank you.
Something that's particularly true right now, it's always been true, but As Americans, we are blessed with the freedom to make all kinds of choices. We can choose where we live, where we choose to work, where we choose to, how we choose to raise our families. For the past 16 years, I've lived in Agoura Hills, and I've done all those things right here because there's no doubt in my mind this is the finest little city in all of Southern California. This is my home. I plan to stay here until I can't tell anybody where I live, and at that point it's not going to matter anymore. I have the ability to work well with all the members of City Council that are in place today, and I'm sure I'd be able to work equally well with any new ones, if there are new ones to come on board in November. I'd like you to think of me on November 6th, because I'm the guy that wants to keep what we have. I'm the selfish one. Just think of selfish Bob Wax. He wants to keep Agoura Hills what it is.
I'd like to thank all of you for coming to the forum tonight and trying to be as informed. It's very difficult with all the issues that are out there. I like to think that all of you know who I am and what I stand for. Over the years, my vision for our community has been consistent and always positive. It stems from long-term convictions. I did not arrive at my positions just recently or just for the purpose of getting elected. I believe in making life better for our children, and I think the results speak for themselves. The community center, the library, the improvements to our parks. I'm an environmentalist, a real one, a member of the Sierra Club, and a voting member of the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy Advisory Board. In fact, I was there when the board accepted the donation of 150 acres of open space from Mr. Rasmussen, and that's the ridge line right here between Fountainwood and Old Agoura. And I can announce tonight that the Wildlife Conservation Board has approved the donation. So we are one step closer to having that ridge line between these two neighborhoods forever protected from development. I'm also a businessman, and I believe in practical solutions. Prosperity requires good planning and judicious allocation of limited resources. We've made significant improvements to our roads and infrastructure, kept our city in a strong financial position, and upgraded the technological capabilities of City Hall. We've improved customer service and kept our city among the safest in California. I've represented all of the people of the city, not just a select few who are interested in only one issue. The election is about credibility and not criticism, and it's about performance, not promises. And I think I've been able to deliver, and I hope for your support on November 6th.
Again, I'd like to ditto the thanks for having us here. And I'd also like to direct you to the League of Women Voters website if you would like to find out a little bit more about Ken Horton and who he is and what he stands for. It's very hard to have a candidates forum like this and get to know the people who are sitting up before you talking about some of the things that they'd like to do for your city. It's very difficult. If you think you know us from hearing what we've said tonight, you're probably wrong. And if you'd like to know more, I'm sure there are ways that you can find out about it. The incumbents have a distinct advantage over any rival who comes into a city to run against them. Because you know who they are, they're all good people, and they've all worked very hard for you. But I can guarantee you that some of the challengers who are sitting up here could be just as good for your city. How are you going to know whether they're good for your city or not? It's to elect them. How are you going to know who they are? Well, I'm telling you now that if you really do want to know who I am and what I'm all about, please go to the League of Women Voters website and look it up. I'm on there. I've taken the time to put together as much of a candidate's base as I could, realizing that coming before you as someone that you don't know puts me at a distinct disadvantage. So I invite you to do that. I am not a one candidate or a one product candidate. I have other things that bother me about the city. I have other things that I like about the city. I absolutely love some of the things that our city councils have done in the past, and I look forward to what city councils, either with me or without me, will do in the future. This city will grow, and it will become one of the better places to live in this community. I look forward to that, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, neighbors, for coming tonight. Thank you, Fountainwood homeowners and League, for putting on a very good program. You elect a city council person to represent you. I mean, that's what we're here to do. And I'm glad to tell you that for the past 4 years, through me, you've been pretty busy. Here's some of what you've been up to. When a one-on-one transportation summit was needed to bring together all our neighboring communities, SCAG, Caltrans, MTA, and the Transportation Commission, you were there, and you helped call that meeting. When over $20 million in outside funding for transportation was approved for our city, you were there. You answered the call for projects, meeting with federal, state, and county representatives, and lobbying for those funds. As we discussed the formation of a San Fernando Valley Transit Zone to possibly replace MTA, you're there because we hold a seat on that board. When law enforcement concerns are expressed with the Sheriff's Department, you're there because we hold a seat on that committee. When quality organizations show interest in locating in our community, you're there because we hold a seat on the Economic Development Committee. When community organizations have questions or concerns about neighborhood matters, you're there because I'm there whenever I'm asked to be. When 3 boys nearly lost their lives a few years ago in a culvert, you were there as I watched our sheriffs and fire personnel risk their lives to save others. When it's time to vote on matters like building a library or adding to our open space, you're there because I'm there doing the research and expressing your concerns. You're there as I examine our finances, get reports from our city manager, and as I respond to citizen phone messages. You're there as I work with the other elected representatives like Brad Sherman, Sheila Kuehl, Fran Pavley, Zev Yaroslavsky. We know each other, we work well together. You have a seat at the table. You're there as workers pave our streets, improve our parks, and build new entranceways to our city. And you're there when we do the homework on the tough decisions because you want and need a voice that's knowledgeable and dedicated to making the right decisions for the community, not some special interest. For you to be in all those places, doing all those things, you have to be there for me just one time. On November 6th, please go in that voting booth and select Jeff Reinhardt. And for the next 4 years, I'll be there for you.
This brings us to the end of the program. I would like to thank the panel for being so civil and being so informative. I would like to thank you for being polite and asking good questions. I also would like to thank the Fountainwood Homeowners Association for calling us and asking us to help out with this. I would like to let you know that the website that Mr. Horton suggested that you look at is really our smart. You can get to it through the League of Women Voters website, but it's smartvoter.com or .org, and it has all the information about the candidates who have submitted their information, and it's a service the League of Women Voters provides at every election. And anytime there's an election that comes up, if you want to go to that website, you can get a lot of really good information about candidates. Let's see, that pretty well, oh, did you want to, all right. Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to Harry Schwartz, and again, thank you very much for coming out tonight, and be sure to vote on November 6th.
I was just going to say, let's give Cindy O'Connor and the League of Women Voters another wonderful administration of a forum that was very informative and very well done. And let's give a hand to all of the candidates. It takes a lot of courage to sit up there and answer all those questions under these lights. Just for your edification, this will be aired again if you have Channel 63 as your public access on Wednesday, October 17th at noon, and Saturday, October 20th at 6 p.m. If you have Channel 8 as your public access, it will be on Sunday, October 21st at 5 p.m., Wednesday, October 24th at 12 noon. Thank you all for coming here. It was a wonderful, informative forum, and please vote on November 6th with all the information you have, and look at those websites and any more information you can have. Good night.